Auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad kama sallaita ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammad kama barakta ala Ibrahima wa ala ali Ibrahima innaka Hamidum Majid. रब इश्रह ली सदरी व यस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली रब्बना ज़िदना इल्मा या मुक़ल्लिबुल क़ुलूब सब्बित क़ल्बी अला दीनिक आमीन. We are doing Surah Al-Ma'idah. Today we will do the second part of the surah, in which we will do from verse number 3 till 7. अतममतु अलैकुम निअमती व रज़ीतु लकुमुल इस्लामा दीना फमन इस्तुर्र फी मखमसतिन गैर मुतजानिफिन लिइस्मिन फइन्नल्लाहा गफूरुर रहीम. This verse is continued from the first part, and the translation of this part of the verse is: This day the disbelievers have lost hope of your deen religion, so do not fear them, but fear me. This day have I perfected for you your deen religion, completed my bounty upon you, and chosen Islam as your deen religion. So whoever is constrained in starvation, not inclined towards sin, then indeed Allah is most forgiving, most merciful. The verse was revealed on the occasion of the farewell Hajj, when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba radiyallahu ta'ala anhum, numbering over 1 lakh, were on the plain of Arafat. There was never a larger congregation than this in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The year was the 10th after the Hijrah. This verse was revealed in the auspicious circumstances when the Muslims were donning the Ihram at an auspicious place on the venerable day of Jummah, Friday. After the conquest of Mecca, people from all over the Arabian Peninsula flocked to embrace Islam, because many of them feared the Quraysh, who were now all Muslims. There were now no opposition to Islam from the Arabs, and the vision that the mushrikeen had of wiping out Islam was now long buried. This ambition, of which they fought battles, tirelessly plotted, and even sought the assistance of foreign powers, was, with the grace of Allah, totally thwarted. Then they now lost complete hope of ever defeating Islam. Allah referred to this when He says, This day the disbelievers have lost hope of your religion. Allah had fulfilled His promise that the deen of Islam shall reign supreme, and the kuffar saw it before their very eyes. Now that the kuffar were helpless before the might of Islam, the Muslims had no need to fear them anymore. They could now focus their efforts upon their deen. Allah says, So do not fear them, but fear me. This day have I perfected for you your deen religion. Every law and injunction revealed from the time of Hazrat Adam alayhi salam to every one of the messengers alayhi salam after him had been perfected on that day when this verse was revealed. Laws were perfected as well as character. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned, I have been sent to you to perfect good character and the best of action, narrated by Mishkat, page 514. Before this revelation, many injunctions were repealed to the replaced by something similar or better. After this verse, no such thing occurred. Hazrat Ibn Abbas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu reports that after this verse, no other verse was revealed with regard to laws and injunctions. Whatever was revealed thereafter concerned advice and warnings. The laws of Islam encompass man's personal, social, political, economic, and every other facet of his life. Islam teaches man how to behave with his family, friends, spouse, children, neighbors, guests, and even enemies. It provides detail of peace and war, dressing and etiquette of eating. It provides detailed laws concerning trade and commerce, rental and leasing, stretching to penal codes and the appointment of leaders. Islam discussed the treatment of subjects in a state and the rights the public owe to their leaders. In this way, specific answers were to be found in the Sharia of Islam to a myriad of questions. Islam does not only teach devotional acts but provides guidance in matters of beliefs, morals, characters, and mutual conduct. No other religion has no much to offer. Other religions only offer a few theories and hypotheses, neglecting a major portion of man's life. Any person of understanding cannot fail to realize the truth, beauty, and comprehensive nature of Islam. The deen religions taught by the previous Anbiya salam were also perfectly suited to the needs and circumstances of their people. However, the deen brought by Muhammad wasallam is perfect for every single soul to be born till the day of Qiyamah, since it is the final deen religion to be brought to man. It is adapted to every time period and every nation. It will apply to every age, irrespective of the change and advancement that may occur. It will remain as a means of salvation until eternity. Completed my bounty upon you. The author of Ruhul Mani, volume 6, page 60, writes that the completion of Allah's bounty upon those present at the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was in the fact that they had conquered Makkah without a fight. The encumbrances of the period of ignorance were over, and the mushrikeen were no longer to perform the Hajj. Another interpretation is that Allah had completed His guidance to them. Others maintain that it refers to the perfection of Islam, while another group is of the opinion that it refers to the unique knowledge and understanding with which Allah blessed the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The author of Malumat-e-Tanzil, volume 2, page 11, quotes certain commentators that this refers to the promise of Allah in Surah Baqarah, where He said, "So that I may complete my bounty upon you." Verse number is 150. And chosen Islam as your deen religion, only Islam guarantees peace and salvation in both the worlds. Those who do not accept will have to face the damnation of the everlasting fire of Jahannam. Despite their exertion in devotional acts and spiritual exercises, Hazrat Abu Huraira radhiyallahu ta'ala reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "On the day of judgment, when actions will present themselves before Allah, Salah will come and tell Allah, O Rab, I am Salah. Allah will reply, you are good. Thereafter, charity will come and tell Allah, O Rab, I am charity. Allah will say, you are good. Fasting will present itself and say, O Rab, I am fasting. Allah will say, you are good. In this way, all actions will present themselves and receive the same reply. Eventually, Islam will come and say, O Rab, you are Salam and I am Islam. Upon this, Allah will say, you are good. It shall be by virtue of you that today I will take people to task. Those who did not accept Islam will be doomed. And by virtue of you that I will give to rewards to those who accepted Islam. Allah declared in His book, whoever follows a deen religion besides Islam, it will never be accepted from him, and in the Akhirah, hereafter, he shall be amongst the losers. Narrated by Mishkat, page 445. In brief, Allah has confirmed upon the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam three favors that cannot be superseded. They are: 1. The perfection of their deen; 2. Completion of Allah's bounty; 3. The boon of Islam. The Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam are the best of Ummahs, have the best of Anbiya alayhi salam, have the best kitab, and have the best perfect of deen that will remain until the end of time. The Jew once told Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, O Amirul Mumineen, there is a verse in your Quran that you recite. If that verse was revealed to us, we would have declared the day a day of celebration Eid. When Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu asked him which verse he was referring to, he said, the verse is, this day have I perfected for you your deen, religion, completed my bounty upon you and chosen Islam as your religion. Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu told him, we know the day and the place wherein this verse was revealed to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He was standing upon the plain of Arafat on the day of Jummah, narrated by Bukhari, volume 1, page 11. According to a narration of Fathul Bari, volume 1, page 105, Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu said, the verse was revealed on Jummah, on the day of Arafat, and by the grace of Allah, both these days are days of celebration. Tirmizi records another incident after this. Once after Hazrat Ibn Abbas Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu recited this verse, a Jew commented that if this verse was revealed to them, they would have made the day of its revelation a day of festivity. Hazrat Ibn Abbas Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu replied, the day in which this verse was revealed was a day wherein we celebrated two festivities that are Eids, two Eids. It was the day of Jummah and the day of Arafah. The intents of the replies of Hazrat Ibn Abbas and Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu was that there was no necessity to celebrate another day because the day wherein the verse was revealed was already a day of celebration from before. The Eid day of celebration for Muslims is not a day wherein they indulge in merrymaking and sports. This is a day that the Muslims devote to Allah's obedience and in which they engage in His dhikr, remembrance. Muslims will observe only those days of Eid that have been stipulated by their Rabb. When this verse was revealed, Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu began to weep very bitterly because he understood that now Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was due to leave them since his duty was completed. His perception was correct. For the noble Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam left this world a mere 81 days after the revelation of this verse. Consuming haram foods when in dire necessity, so whoever is constrained in starvation, not inclined towards sin, then indeed Allah is most forgiving, most merciful. The person who is in danger of losing his life because of starvation may eat the forbidden foods if nothing else is valuable. However, he may only eat that much that will sustain his life, and he should not be sinful by eating more than it is required. This is described in Surah Baqarah verse 173 and Surah Nahl 115 as neither rebelliously nor transgressing the limits. Then indeed, Allah is most forgiving, most merciful. Allah will forgive him for the little that he eats to sustain his life. Further, details with regard to this can be referred to in the discussion of verse 173 of Surah Baqarah. Now, verse number 4. يَسْأَلُونَكَ مَاذَا أُحِلَّ لَهُمْ قُلْ أُحِلَّ لَكُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتُ وَمَا عَلَّمْتُم مِّنَ الْجَوَارِحِ مُكَلِّبِينَ تُعَلِّمُونَهُنَّ مِمَّا عَلَّمَكُمُ اللَّهُ فَكُلُوا مِمَّا أَمْسَكْنَ عَلَيْكُمْ وَاذْكُرُوا اسْمَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ وَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ سَرِيعُ الْحِسَابِ. They ask you what is permissible for them. They permitted for you are the pure things, and the hunting animals that you tamed and trained, teaching them what Allah had taught you. Eat of what they hunt for you, and take the name of Allah thereupon. Fear Allah. Verily, Allah is swift in making reckoning. The author of Ruhul Mani writes that pure things are those things that a person with a sound disposition does not consider to be filthy and does not detest. It must be understood that only that person whose disposition is pure will be inclined towards pure things and will dislike impure things. People in certain parts of the world eat everything, let alone pigs. They even eat monkeys, dogs, snakes, lizards, chameleons, and all types of insects. This is due to the fact that their disposition are not sound and pure. They have been deprived of the teachings of the Anbiya alayhi salam and are drowned in kufr and darkness. The general purport of pure things declares all impurities and filth to be haram. The halal animals are cattle, buffaloes, goats, sheep, buck, antelopes, rabbits, doves, pigeons, fowls, ducks, geese, turkeys, partridges, sparrows, parrots, menace, etc. All animals and birds that eat meat are haram. The character of a person will be affected by his diet. Eating carnivorous animal will tend to make a person also bestial and has therefore been forbidden. Hazrat Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam prohibited them from eating animals that eat by tearing their prey apart with their fangs, and from all those birds that have talons, birds of prey, narrated by Muslim. Hazrat Khuzaimah radiallahu ta'ala anhu narrates that he asked Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam regarding the eating of badgers. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam replied, "Does anyone eat them?" He then inquired with regard to wolves. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "Only that person will eat wolves who are no good in him," narrated by Tirmizi. The same narration appears in Ibn Majah with the variation that he asked with regard to fox instead of badgers. A narration appears in Abu Dawud wherein the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum was sitting with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam when mention was made of porcopes. The Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, "It is an impurity amongst impurities." During the Battle of Khyber, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam prohibited the eating of tamed donkeys, Bukhari, narrated by Bukhari and Muslim. Since a mule is a cross between a donkey and a horse, it is also forbidden. Alama Damiri Rahmullah writes in his book Kitabul Hayawan, Kitabul Haywan, Volume 2, page 246, that as far as his knowledge reaches, the ulama of the Muslims are unanimous that the flesh of a monkey cannot be consumed. The same applies to dogs, elephants, and other animals that have sharp teeth. He adds that it was not necessary that a separate prohibition be revealed with regard to these since they are naturally detested. He then narrates a hadith from Hazrat Shabi Rahmullah that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam forbade the eating of monkeys. Normally, dogs are used for hunting. However, if other animals are trained according to the required principles, they may also be used. Such animals will be considered to be trained when they are able to attack the prey and either kill or injure it because eating anything therefrom. Once the animal abstains from eating on at least the 3 successive occasions, it will be considered to be trained. Thereafter, the master reciting Bismillah should release them to track down the prey. When they track the prey, the master may then slaughter it if it is alive. If the prey dies because of the wound, it will still be considered to be halal. An animal killed by an untrained animal will not be halal. If, however, the animal is still alive after the attack, a person may slaughter it thereby rendering it halal. If the trained hunting animal killed the prey by choking it and no other wound was inflicted, the animal will be haram. This law is derived from the words, eat of what they hunt for you. The condition of reciting Bismillah is derived from that part of the verse where Allah says, and take the name of Allah thereupon. Hazrat Adi bin Hatim Raziallahu ta'ala narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told him, when you release your dog, then take the name of Allah. If it catches some prey, then slaughter it if it is still alive. If you find that your dog has killed it and has not eaten therefrom, then you may eat it. If your dog had eaten from it, then it had hunted for itself, meaning that it was not trained. If you find another dog with your own and the prey is dead, then do not eat therefrom, because you do not know which of the dogs had killed the prey. Narrated by Muslim, Volume 2, page 146. A bird will be considered to be trained when it returns to the owner when he calls it back after releasing it. When this is achieved at least 3 times, then the bird will be fit to be used for hunting. The other conditions will be the same as applied to the hunting animals. The only condition that does not apply to the bird is that the prey will be halal if the bird ate thereof. So some rules are written here for hunting. 1. The animals that does not die after being struck by an arrow will have to be slaughtered for it to be halal, on condition that Bismillah was recited when the arrow was shot. However, if the animal is killed by the arrow, it will still be considered halal. 2. If a bird is shot after reciting Bismillah, but it fell into water or on a high place and then fell down, then this bird will be haram. This is due to the possibility of it being killed by drowning or by the fall. 3. The above ruling stipulates that Bismillah be recited whenever the hunting animal or bird is released, as well as when an arrow is fired. However, if a person forget to recite Bismillah, then too the animal will be halal if the other conditions are fulfilled. 4. The above laws that apply to a Muslim will also apply to a Jew or a Christian. 5. The animal hunted by any person besides a Jew, Christian, or a Muslim will be haram even though he recites Bismillah. 6. It is permissible to hunt those wild animals that are haram, and their skins may be used after tanning. Fear Allah. Verily Allah is swift in taking reckoning. Like the previous verses where law were mentioned, this verse also reminds people to fear Allah and be considered about the akhirah hereafter. Those animals that are forbidden should not be consumed, and the hunter should not be engrossed in his hunting, that he forgets the rights that he owes to others, especially to Allah, like salah, etc. Abu Dawud records a hadith reported by Hazrat Ibn Abbas Raziallahu ta'ala anhu, in which Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, the person who lives in rural areas becomes hard-hearted. The one who frequents the presence of kings will be cast into strife, and the person who engages in hunting becomes negligent. Verse number 5. Al-Yawma أُحِلَّ لَكُمُ الطَّيِّبَاتُ وَطَعَامُ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ حِلٌّ لَكُمْ وَطَعَامُكُمْ حِلٌّ لَهُمْ وَالْمُحْصَنَاتُ مِنَ الْمُؤْمِنَاتِ وَالْمُحْصَنَاتُ مِنَ الَّذِينَ أُوتُوا الْكِتَابَ من قبلكم إذا آتيتموهن أجورهن محسنين غير مسافحين ولا متخذي أخدان وما يكفر بالإيمان فقد حبط عمله وهو في الآخرة من الخاسرين. Translation of this verse is, today the pure things have been permitted for you. The food of those who have been given the book is lawful. for you, and your food is lawful for them. So too are the just believing women and the just women of those who have been given the book before you. When you give them their dowries on the condition that you are chaste, neither lascivious nor fostering secretive relations. Whosoever rejects Iman has indeed destroyed his actions, and in the Akhirah hereafter he will be among the losers. This verse reiterates the permissibility of pure things by saying, today the pure things have been permitted for you. The addition of the word today merely means that what was previously considered pure has not been withdrawn and still applies. The food of those who have been given the book is lawful for you. The verse refers to the slaughtered animal of the Jews and the Christians. It is permissible for a Muslim to eat from the meat of an animal that was slaughtered by a member of Ahlul Kitab on condition that he recites Bismillah when slaughtering. The verse refer only to slaughtered animals, since other animal items of food like rice, grains, etc. are all halal, irrespective of from whom they are taken, even from a mushrik. The reason for the permissibility of the animals slaughtered by the Ahlul Kitab is that they also do not permit the eating of animals that are not slaughtered. If a person of the Ahlul Kitab purposely omit the recitation of Bismillah when slaughtering, the animal will be haram. Allah says in Surah Anam, do not eat of that whereupon Allah's name was not taken. Indeed, this is a sinful. Verse number 1 to 1. This verse bans the eating of any animal that was slaughtered without the name of Allah, whether the one who slaughters in Muslim or from the Ahlul Kitab. However, if the Muslim or person from the Ahlul Kitab forgetfully omitted or to recite Bismillah, then the animal will be halal. The Musannif of Abdul Razak, volume 4, page 481, reports a hadith wherein Hazrat Ibn Abbas radiallahu ta'ala said, "Verily, within the Muslim is the name of Allah. If he slaughters and forget to take the name of Allah, then eat thereof. If a fire worshipper slaughters taking the name of Allah, then do not eat thereof." It must be borne in mind that the people of Ahlul Kitab will be considered as reliable for slaughtering over only when they adhere to the same deen religion that was adhered to at the time when the Quran was revealed. The animals slaughtered by those who are merely Jews or Christians by name will not be halal. Such people do not follow any religion, do not believe in Allah, and do not accept the Torah nor the Injil. Animals slaughtered by them can never be halal even if they recite Bismillah. Hazrat Ali Raziallah Ta'ala is reported to have said, do not eat the animals slaughtered by the Christians of a Bani Taghlib tribe, for they have retained nothing from Christianity except the drinking of wine. Few rules are here written here. 1. The animal slaughtered by a murtad, one who left the fold of Islam, will be haram even though he may have become a Jew or a Christian. 2. That animal will also be haram that has been slaughtered by a person who believes that another messenger came after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 3. Those people are kuffar who, despite claiming to be Muslim, reject the fundamentals of deen, mock aspects of the deen, alter any verse of the Quran, or claim that the Quran was adulterated. It will not be permissible to eat animals slaughtered by them. 4. It will not be permissible to consume an animal when the slaughterer intentionally omitted to recite Bismillah, even though the slaughterer is from the Ahlul Kitab or a Muslim. Those people who indeed is in great error who deduce from the above verse that every food eaten by Ahlul Kitab is halal. They say this irrespective of whether the animal was slaughtered, killed, And even if Bismillah was not recited at the same time of slaughtering, many Muslims in Europe, America, and Australia consider all the meat available in those countries to be halal, even though they are certain that these were slaughtered without Bismillah. They say that these animals are halal for the Ahlul Kitab and must therefore be halal for Muslims as well. This is totally incorrect and a gross misinterpretation of the Quran. Misinterpretation of the Quran. In their ignorance, they think that when an animal dies or becomes haram in any other way, by falling, drawing, etc., then it will be haram only if the animal belongs to a Muslim. However, if any of these things occur when the animals are with the Jews or Christians, then the very same animal will be halal. May Allah save the Ummah from such ignorant people. Ameen. If every food of theirs was halal without any condition, then surely pork and wine will also be such. Allah forbid. Allah forbid. Allah forbid. And your food is lawful for them. Every type of food that is permissible for a Muslim is permissible for the people of Ahlul Kitab. So too are the chaste believing women and the chaste women of those who have been given the book before you. Muslim men have been permitted to marry chaste Jews and Christian women. Imam Muhammad rahimullah reports in his book Kitabul Ahtar that during the Khalifa of Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu, Hazrat Huzaifa Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu married a Jewish woman in Medina. When Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu heard of this, he wrote a letter to I think it is written Madian. Yes, not Medina. Okay. He wrote a letter to Hazrat Huzaifa Raziyallahu Ta'ala instructing him to divorce her. When Hazrat Huzaifa received the letter, he wrote back saying, O Amirul Mumineen, is it haram to marry Jewish women? Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala replied by writing, I am issuing an extremely vehement command that you put this letter down only after you have divorced her, because I fear that other Muslim will follow your example. This will then prefer the Zimni woman to Muslim women in marriage because of their beauty. Muslim women will then be ignored, and this will be very detrimental for them. After reporting this narration, Imam Muhammad rahimullah writes, we also adhere to the ruling of Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu. We do not consider it haram, but maintain that Muslim women be given preference. This is the opinion of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimullah. This prediction of Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala anhu can be witnessed today in places like Europe, America, and Australia. An imam giving in Canada once mentioned to me that to the author that 90% of the Muslim men whom he marries are married to Christian women. Another great danger to Muslims is that the Christians have devised a scheme whereby they introduce Christian women to Muslim men whenever they have erected a public amenity like a hospital, college, school, etc. They employ this method to spread their culture and deen. These women then set out on this sinister task of converting the men and all their children to Christianity. None can question the action of Hazrat Umar Raziyallahu Ta'ala since he did not make something haram that was halal, but he merely prohibited such marriages in the greater interests and advantages of the Ummah. He was from the righteous Khalifas whom Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself instructed that they be obeyed. When you give them their dowries, this portion of the verse stipulates that even the women of the Ahlul Kitab should be given their dowries. This is worthy of mention because it may occur that Zimni women are deprived of their dowries, and because they are under the rule of Muslims, they may be hesitant to claim this right of theirs, on the condition that you are chaste, neither lecherous nor fostering secretive relations. This instructions Muslim men that they should not satisfy their carnal passions in any way that what is contradictory to the Sharia. Neither should they engage in adultery, nor should they court mistresses. Allah is aware of every action. It is common in countries like Europe, America, and Australia for people to have extra material relations. These last for many years, and numerous illegitimate children are born of these relationships. Allah has warned of this centuries ago and instructed marriages to chaste women, while the men should also preserve their chastity. Whosoever rejects Iman has indeed destroyed his actions, and in the Akhirah, hereafter, he will be among the losers. This part of the verse refers to Kufr and those who are murtad. They will not be saved in the Akhirah hereafter and will have to suffer eternal punishment. The laws concerning the murtad has already been discussed under the verse 217 of Surah Baqarah. Now, verse number 6. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى مرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين وإن كنتم جنبا فاطهروا وإن كنتم مرضى أو على سفر أو جاء أحد منكم من الغائط أو لامستم النساء فلم تجدوا ماء فتيمموا صعيدا طيبا فامسحوا بوجوهكم وأيديكم منه ما يريد الله ليجعل عليكم من حرج ولكن يريد ليطهركم وليتم نعمته عليكم لعلكم تشكرون. O you who believe, when you stand up to perform salah, wash your faces, your arms by the arms up to the elbows. Pass wet hands over your heads and wash your feet up to your ankles. If you are impure, then purify yourself well. If you are ill or on journey, returning from the toilet or from touching your woman, and you do not find any water, then use clean soil to wipe your faces and arms therewith. Allah does not want to place any difficulty upon you, but wants to purify you and complete His bounty upon you so that you may be grateful. Verse number 7. واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم وميثاقه الذي وثقكم به إذ قلتم سمعنا وأطعنا واتقوا الله إن الله عليم بذات الصدور. Call to mind the bounty of Allah upon you and His covenant that He took from you with solemnity when you said, "We hear and we obey." Fear Allah. Verily Allah knows the secrets of the hearts. This verse explains the method of wuzu. Allah says, O you who believe, when you stand up to perform salah, Allah addresses the Muslims in this manner because usually people are either seated or engaged in their occupation without being in the state of wuzu. This verse instructs them make wuzu. It should be noted that this verse does not mean that a person has to make wuzu when he is already in the state of wuzu. On the occasion when Makkah was conquered, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam performed 4 salahs with a single wuzu. Hazrat Zaid bin Aslam rahimullah says that the verse refers to the time when a person wakes up from sleeping. At that instant, he cannot have wuzu and will have to make wuzu in order to perform salah. Other commentators state that it is best that wuzu be made every time a person performs salah, even if he had already made wuzu earlier. Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar narrates that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "The person who makes wuzu upon wuzu will earn 10 rewards for it." Wash your faces. The entire length and breadth of the face must be washed, from the top of the forehead till below the chin, and from the lobe of one ear until the lobe of the another. If the beard is thin, then it will be necessary that the water reach the skin of the chin. If the beard is so thick that the chin is not visible, it will be sufficient that only the hairs of the beard be washed. Many people are negligent of the fact that the area between the ear and cheek also has to be washed. When a person is not in the state of wuzu, he is said to be in the state of hadas asghar. When he is in need of a bath, he shall be termed to be in state of hadas akbar. It is forbidden to perform salah while in either of these states. According to consensus of the Ummah, salah performed while in any of these states will have to be repeated. It is therefore imperative that attention is given to the perfect performance of wuzu so that no part is left unwashed. Your arm up to the elbow. It is first that the arms have to be washed from the finger tips up and including the elbow. Pass wet hands over your heads. This refers to making masa. It is sunnah that masa be made of the entire head, since Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to do so most of the time. Narrated Bukhari volume 10 page 31. However, there were times when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made masa of only the front portion of his head, as narrated in Muslim from a hadith of Hazrat Mughira bin Shu'bah radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. It is for this reason the Imam Abu Hanifa rahimullah has mentioned that masa of the entire head is sunnah and masa of quarter of the head is farz. Wash your feet up to your ankles. It is also first that the feet was washed up to and including the ankles. If any portion of the above area is left dry, then the wuzu will not be valid. The four factors mentioned in the Quran are classified as the farais of wuzu. Of these, it is sunnah that the masa of the entire head be made once and the face, arms and feet be washed thrice each. It is farz that each be washed at least once. Washing means that every portion be made wet. Okay, now when we are making wuzu, the following acts are sunnah. So let's see them. Number 1, reciting Bismillah before commencing. 2, gargling the mouth thrice. 3, brushing the teeth with the miswak. 4, rinse the nostrils thrice, ensuring that the water reaches the soft part of the nostrils. This is the fifth one. Washing the right limbs first. 6, passing wet fingers through the beard called khilal. 7th, making masa of the ears, inner and outer. Okay. So the lesson from here we get is Hazrat Abu Huraira radiyallahu ta'ala reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when any of you awakens from his sleep, he should not put his hands in water till he has washed them thrice, for he does not throw where his hands had spent the night. Narrated by Bukhari and Muslim. Second lesson is this: with the rinsing of the nostrils, one should pay particular attention to the blowing the nose, especially upon awakening. Hazrat Abu Huraira radiyallahu ta'ala narrates that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, when any of you wakes up from his sleep, he should blow his nose because shaitan spends the night in his nostrils. Narrated by Bukhari and Muslim. Third lesson is Hazrat Abdullah bin Umar radiyallahu ta'ala reports that when they were returning with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam from Makkah, they came across some water at the time of Asr. Some people hastily performed their wuzu there. When the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached the place, he saw that in their haste they had not washed their ankles. He said, the ankles will be destroyed in the fire. wash them properly. Narrated by Muslim, page 125, and Bukhari, volume 1, page 28. While water must reach every place, it should not be wasted. Hazrat Abdullah bin Amir bin Al-As reports that once Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam passed by Hazrat Saad while he was performing wuzu. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam commented, "What is this wastage?" Hazrat Saad asked, "Can there be wastage in wuzu?" The Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Yes. There is wastage in wuzu even though you may be on the bank of the river." Narrated by Mishkat, page 47. Although all the other nations of the past were instructed with some time of purification, the specialty of the Ummah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is that their wuzu will be discerning symbol for them on the day of judgment. Hazrat Abu Darda radiallahu ta'ala reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "I will be the first person of the day of judgment to be permitted to prostrate, and I will be the first to be allowed to rinse from prostration. Upon raising my head, I will look forward and recognize each one of my ummah. Then I will look back and recognize those of my ummah. Then I will look to my right. I will recognize them in the same way. And then I look to the left as well." One of the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum asked, "O Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, how will you be able to recognize your ummah when all the ummahs from Hazrat Nuh alayhi salam will be present?" Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam replied, "The faces, hands and feet of my ummah will be shining on account of their wuzu. No other ummah will have this distinction." Narrated by Mishkat, page 40. If you are impure, then purify yourself well. This refers to the person who is in need of a bath, either due to cohabitation or an orgasm, menstruation, etc. The emphasis in the verse indicates that a proper bath be taken. According to Imam Abu Hanifa rahimullah, it is first that a person rinse his mouth thoroughly when taking a bath ghusl. The entire mouth up to the throat must be washed at least once. It is also first to rinse the nostrils thoroughly till the soft portion of the nose. Whilst making ghusl, the private parts should be thoroughly washed so that no trace of impurity remains. All other impurities should also be removed from the body. Thereafter, wuzu should be made as normal, whereafter the entire body must be washed. It is first in ghusl that water reaches every part of the body. To do so thrice in sunnah. Special attention should be given to those areas that are normally neglected, such as the navel and armpits. Hazrat Abu Huraira radiallahu ta'ala reports that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Impurity is under every hair, so wash under each hair, and those areas that have no hair should be cleaned." Narrated by Tirmizi and Abu Dawud. Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala narrates that the Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "The person who omits even the extent of a single hair while taking ghusl will be punished if the fire of Jahannam." Hazrat Ali radiallahu ta'ala therefore never kept hair on his head for fear of omitting any while bathing. After reporting this hadith, he thrice said, "It is for this reason that I have enmity of my hair." Narrated by Mishkat, page 48. Rule number 1. If the top end of the male sexual organ enters that of a female, ghusl will be obligatory on both, even though no ejaculation takes place. Second rule, ghusl will also be obligatory upon the expiry of menstruation or after birth bleeding. The method of ghusl is the same as described above. Okay, tayammum. If you are ill or on journey, returning from the toilet or from touching your woman and you do not find any water, then use clean soil to wipe your face and arms therewith. The topic of tayammum has already been discussed in verse 43 of Surah Nisa. Allah does not want to place any difficulty upon you, but wants to purify you and complete His bounty upon you so that you may be grateful. This refers to the laws of wuzu, ghusl, and tayammum that have been stated above. They have been ordained so that the Muslim have been purified both physically as well as spiritually when his sins are forgiven by these acts. Just as impurities are removed by wuzu and ghusl, so too are they cleansed by tayammum. A person who has performed the tayammum can do just what the person performing wuzu can do. Salah, recitation of Quran, etc. The concession to perform tayammum at times when water cannot be found or used is a great favor of Allah. Hazrat Usman Raziallahu Ta'ala anhu narrates that Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, when a person makes wuzu properly, his sins fall off his body, even to the extent that the sins fall away from beneath his fingernails. Narrated by Muslim, Volume 1, page 125. Wuzu, ghusl, and tayammum are all from the bounties of Allah. Since they offer both physical as well as spiritual benefit, we therefore need to be grateful to Allah. Call to mind the bounty of Allah, be they physical, spiritual, apparent, or hidden, upon you and His covenant that He took from you with solemnity when you said, "We hear and we obey." The author of Ruhul Mani, volume 6, page 8, writes that this verse refers to the pledge that Sahaba Raziallahu Ta'ala anhum took with Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam on the night of Uqba in the 13th year after proclamation of his Nabihood. Hazrat Ubaidah bin Samit Raziallahu Ta'ala anhu reports that they pledged to Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam that they will listen to and obey his instructions in all conditions, favorable or adverse, narrated by Muslim, volume 2, page 125. He also writes that the verse could refer to the pledge of Ridwan, since this pledge was taken with Allah, even though at the hands of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Allah says in Surah Fatih, indeed those who take the pledge with you, they actually take the pledge with Allah. Yes, this is Rizwan, verse number 10. By accepting Islam, every Muslim actually pledged that he will be obedient to the injunctions of Allah. Therefore, the covenant in this verse is addressed to every Muslim. It will therefore not be necessary to relate this verse only to the isolated pledges of Uqba and Rizwan. Fear Allah by not forgetting His bounties and not breaching His covenant. Verily Allah knows the secrets of the heart. He shall require every person to account for every action, whether carried out in public or in private. Wa akhiru dawana and alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Allahumma ighfir li muslimina wal muslimat wal mu'minina wal mu'minat. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.